This, most of us will be heading over to the location of Donald Trump's $25,000 plate fundraiser. It's taking place at the Center Club, right there at the Intercontinental Hotel, which is on West Shore Infinity, directly after this. But the reason that that we're here right now in the heart of West Tampa, a community founded by immigrants, by hardworking families, and many of them who still live here and are struggling day to day. It's quite an irony that Donald Trump decided that West Tampa was an appropriate spot for his campaign headquarters during the primary. You'll note that just like Donald Trump does, he comes into communities, he gets what he wants, and he vacates. And he leaves those communities worse off afterwards. We've seen that in Atlantic City with his casino bankruptcy fiascos, the way he's treated his workers, the way he's pushed them to get fired if they try and organize. And we've seen this right here in Tampa, where he came in with a lot of bluster and bravado and said, I'm going to open up a Trump Tower in downtown Tampa. That didn't happen. It's probably better off that it's a park today. One thing I wanted to mention is that, the New York Times said that it would be hard to imagine a more politically unfriendly turf for a Trump campaign office than this cigar factory here in West Tampa, founded upon hard-working immigrant families in direct opposition to the xenophobic, racist statements that this bigoted nominee for president has said. This buffoon really has no idea what the history is of this historic immigrant community, and I thought this was an appropriate backdrop for this event today. I want to start off by introducing Dr. Ben Smalls. He is the president of the NAACP.
Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to come in this morning to speak. As the president of the local chapter of the NAACP is against the bigotry and racism that Donald Trump has. We have worked too hard in the last 100 years in order to progress that we have made, give that be busing, give that be in construction, give that be other minorities. What we are standing for is that we are looking for justice throughout this country. We, meaning the NAACP, had an opportunity to invite him to our national convention in Cincinnati last week, and he slam dunked us. He did not come in to say what his challenge was going to be for the Afro-Americans or other minorities in this country. He had that opportunity. What we are saying is that we are not going to be pushed back. We are going to go forward. We are against racism. We are against bigotry. We are supporting those positive things that has been done over the last 100 years to make this country better. I'm looking around here in West Tampa, and I was born not too far from here, and we have been part of this community as well as the other immigrants. The Afro-Americans have been part of the labor movement in this country, and that a lot of the roads have been built by Afro-Americans because of the fact that they were the only ones that actually got out to do the work. So as we go forward, we have a positive attitude that we want to make sure that we continue to go forward without anyone pushing us back. And we will say no to any racism or bigotry that will come into this community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce a man who I actually met at one of Donald Trump's last visits to Tampa. He was one of the few people of color who was inside listening to Donald Trump's statements, and his name is Mike Reed, member of Organize Now here in Tampa. Thank you.
How you guys doing today? I'm just going to speak for a moment about my experiences at the local Trump rally that they had here in Tampa. At the time, I was working for an organization called Save the Children, and I went there as an observer. I had gone to the Bernie Sanders rally, and I decided to go here just to see what Donald Trump had to say. I believe that there are a lot of things that gets misconstrued online and in the media, so I decided to go and see it for myself. What I found at this rally was that I was targeted. And when I say targeted, I mean I was wearing nothing but my normal work shirt, which just said Save the Children on it, and a backwards hat. And people came up to me and asked me, why was I there? What was my reason for being there? Am I here to start trouble? I was pulled aside and went through a couple extra security checks. I said nothing to anyone. I did not go to the protest. I did not go there to start anything. I went there simply as an observer and an American citizen. And I was treated as if though I were some kind of criminal. Now, I remember specifically two women who turned around and looked at me dead in my eyes and said, well, people like you don't normally come to these kind of things. And I was wondering, what does it mean, people like me? I had no idea. People wear backwards hats, people who work for Save the Children, or was it because I was black? My point being is that I don't feel Donald Trump represents America. We're always talking about what makes America great. What makes America great is the fact that we are a melting pot. The fact that we believe that everyone is equal, that you are equal to the man across from you despite your race, sexuality, gender, or religion. A man like Donald Trump does not represent America. He is the antithesis of that. In our Constitution, we make a promise that all men are equal, that you can come to this country and have a better life. That despite whatever religion you are, despite wherever you come from in the world, you can make a better life here in this country. And we, as American citizens, cannot allow this kind of ignorance and bigotry to grow. Because it is growing every day. There was a time when we would look at men like Donald Trump and we'd say, that's not us. He doesn't represent us. And now we look around and he's about to be our president. We cannot allow these injustices to go on any longer. And we must stand together and speak against such atrocities. We're Americans, and we must remember what makes us great, and that is unity, togetherness, and equality. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up Daniel Barajas from the Young American Dreamers, an immigrants' rights organization here in Tampa.
Good morning. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio. One made promises of immigration reform. The other made promises of continuing to destroy families. They want to bring out the negativity, talk about border enforcement. If a candidate, any elected official, does not work to maintain, to keep and protect families, to keep them together, how do they expect to unify and represent the greatest nation in the world as the beacon of hope, the cultural melting pot? It says that immigrants only hurt the country. I've worked closely with the deported veterans, deported U.S. military veterans who have given everything to this country and still have been deported, exiled, and told that their sacrifice wasn't enough. I've gone to the largest mass grave in all of the Americas. The U.S.-Mexican border has the most, so many people that have been found, immigrants trying to make it to a better country. The mass graves have gotten so full that now we simply cremate their remains and dump them in the Pacific. On the south side, in Tijuana, we have the largest homeless shelter, the largest soup kitchen in all of the Americas. To say that the sacrifices that immigrants make, how do you say that to their children? To the children of families that brave the deserts, brave the mountains, brave thieves, cartels, rapists, the ones that they're trying to escape, to come here, give their children a better future. I represent over 100 families. And even I could not look into the eyes of the parents and tell them everything will be safe, everything will be okay, to come out and speak against Trump. How do we get them to believe in politicians like Rubio, who I sat down with before he even came out with his Gang of 8 plan to offer some kind of immigration reform? And telling them, oh, he gave us hope, only to have it blow up in our faces. We depend, there's a misconception that we depend on our elected officials. But no, they depend upon us. We're working, we have over 800,000 legal permanent residents that are ready for citizenship just in the state of Florida alone. Saying that we benefit or we give nothing for somebody like Trump, who knows so much about the economy. Every year, the United States Federal Chamber of Commerce releases a report on the impacts of immigration upon our economy. And it shows that without the slush fund of taxes being paid by the undocumented community, that yes, they're bankrupt, Social Security, all these benefits that we do not qualify for would have gone bankrupt. And we work for that to build this political power. Thank you.
En español? Separate. We have now I wanted to bring up Pavane Scott. She's a child care worker in Tampa. And then Reverend McKinsey.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Pavane Scott, and I am a child care worker and a member of the Fight for 15 movement. Last week at the RNC, Donald Trump cast himself as a protector of workers and jobs in America. He tries to portray himself as a hero and a working class people, but the truth is that this man has been involved in over 3,000 lawsuits over the past 3 decades. And most of them are including hardworking people that he's ripped off, Donald Trump has ripped off. And this should be particularly upsetting to Americans who are struggling and seeking fair wages in the workplace, just like me. As a member of the Fight for 15, we are fighting for living wage and justice in America in the workplace. And just last week, Donald Trump was ordered in the federal court to pay workers thousands of dollars for illegal retaliating against his workers who are fighting for their own. Shame on you, Donald Trump. This is a man who has never had to struggle in his own life, who doesn't understand what it's like to worry about which bill to pay or which one should get cut off. And as a child care worker, I just recently read an instance where Donald Trump was talking to an 18-year-old person that had a question about women in the workplace. Donald Trump feels that women in the workplace should be paid equally as men if we are able to do the job that a man can. I will have you know, Donald Trump, that the child care workers are not only potty training, we are translating. We have over 15 children in our class that we care for and we show love to, regardless of their gender or their class or their race, anywhere. We teach our children to show love, to be kind and be respectful. And Donald Trump, this is the same thing that we will expect from you. We will take nothing less than fair rights and injustice for our most precious resources, which are our children. Thank you all for listening. And as we teach our children, be kind, show love, and most of all, be respectful to our American culture. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to bring up Reverend Charles McKenzie from the Rainbow Push Coalition.
Thank you very much, and thank you all of you for being here today. This is one of the most critical election periods in the nation's history. This is no time for us to stay out of the political process because we have a candidate running for office, the highest office in the land, who has no political experience, no governmental expertise, and no specified plans for governing outside of his rhetoric. The last time this was done was with Dwight David Eisenhower, who was the commander-in-chief of the forces that defeated Hitler's Third Reich. I don't think that Donald Trump even minimally enters that space. He says he can fix the complex problems and multi-layered challenges of the most powerful nation on the planet with the words, "Just trust me." Beyond rhetoric, what is the substance? The things that Donald Trump says in America today would be outlawed in Germany, because after the rise of the Third Reich and Hitler's mean-spirited, anti-Semitic, and racist rhetoric, they put laws into place to ensure that that would not happen again. Donald Trump's candidacy is a spiteful kind of disregard for the greatest generation who fought against Hitler's Third Reich to ensure freedom and to ensure the great ideals of this country. He is now, with his xenophobia, with his bullying, with his demagoguery, speaking the language of apartheid, saying that people based on ethnicity are not fit to be members of our society. This kind of thing is unprecedented, it is immoral, it should be considered politically and sociologically untenable. He praises Vladimir Putin, and he is praised by David Duke. Trump, who was at the political convention with the conspicuous absence of major members of the party. George Will has left the party. The Bushes were not there. Romney was not there. Senator McCain was not there. Because the language of hate, the language of division, and fascist sentiments have no place in democracy and no place in the political process in this still fledgling but great nation. What we will see under Donald Trump is an acceleration of the federal 1033 program, increased militarization of our police forces. We will see increased criminalization of groups like Black Lives Matter. We will see increased marginalization of poor whites, people of color across the nation, an assault on women's right to their self-determination. We will see black and brown people being pushed to the edges of society. What does he have for urban blight? What does he have for Appalachian whites? What does Trump have for Indians on reservations, for the student loan debt, and a plethora of other major concerns in this country? What he has for them is rhetoric that says, "Just trust me." This trickle-down madness that has led to our situation in the nation today must stop. Deregulation on Wall Street cannot be the order of the day. Right-wing, fascist-leaning judges on the Supreme Court are not the solution. Mr. Trump, you are un-American. Mr. Trump, you are immoral. Mr. Trump, you will not be elected because the better angels in our nature will stand up against you, and we, the people who are gathered here today, are going to fight with all of our might to ensure that you do not take this country backward, but that we continue to move forward, because this is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy sounds like, and this is what democracy is.
Yay! Hear, hear. Next, I'd like to bring up Jay Passmore. That's Jaepassmore with Black Lives Matter Tampa.
Good morning. I'm here today to speak about how Trump being president will affect all women in America. Audre Lorde said, "I am a black feminist." I mean, I recognize that my power as well as my primary oppressions come as a result of my blackness as well as my womanness. And therefore, my struggles on both these fronts are inseparable. As a black woman, combat veteran, and American, the thought of Donald Trump as commander-in-chief is repulsive. Racism, misogyny, homophobia, sexism, and xenophobia has no place at all in our country, our legislation, and in our White House. There should be no compromise for equality, and we will not bargain for justice. Donald thinks women should be punished for having abortions. The criminalization of reproductive care that largely impacts marginalized women should be a crime within itself. We need a president who will respect and acknowledge all women as equals. Trans women, gay women, undocumented women, incarcerated women, disabled women. We need a commander-in-chief who will fight for the safety and liberty for all Americans and not those who just look like him and share the same tax bracket. His slogan is "Make America Great Again." And my response to that is, well, which year would you put me in? Should we time hop to just 6 years ago when lesbian soldiers cannot serve openly without fear of being discharged from the military? How about a few decades ago where women were placed in jobs that had no interest in their skill level, just how well they looked in a skirt? Donald Trump's platform is built on hate and fear-mongering. It is regressive and oppressive at its core. To say "Make America Great Again" is a slap in the face to all the civil rights activists who fought for the rights we currently have today and the ones who are still fighting for our equality. There are no glass ceilings that are keeping women back, just bullies and bigots who refuse to see women as equals. We will shatter the system that allows those who stunt the growth of others because they are different to stay in power, not reward them with the highest title in the land. Our daughters are taught equal pay for equal work, while our sons don't understand the mantra because they are expected to receive just that. The only reason we should revisit the past is to learn from our mistakes to build a greater future. I'm not interested in making America great again for a few. I'm solely focused on making a better tomorrow for all. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up Corey Weckerly. You'll have to spell your name for everybody.
So Corey, C-O-R-Y, Weckerly, W-E-C-K-E-R-L-E. And I'm speaking on behalf of Black Lives Matter and also just the youth of this country and what a Donald Trump presidency looks like for us.
Donald Trump is the embodiment of the worst qualities that this country has to offer. I speak not only from the perspective of an African American who has felt the impact of the irrefutable damage of an unjust system built to burden the minority demographic of this country, but also from the perspective of the youth, the fresh minds, and the future of America that recognize that we need change. We are in an age that calls for unity and understanding, not just as a nation, but as a world. Yet Donald Trump stands firm as the poster child for hate, division, regressionism, and willful ignorance. A man whose views are so twisted by his narcissistic nature that he would rather tweet requesting undeserved praise than offer help to grieving victims of the Pulse nightclub tragedy. A man who would call for violence to citizens who oppose his antiquated views, and a man whose ego would drive him to release an ad boasting that his rallies consist of 33% applause time while ignoring the important issues such as police brutality and mass incarceration in our communities. These are not the characteristics of my president. My country is not a reality TV show. My country is not another business venture for the disconnected. Every step closer that Donald Trump reaches to the White House, this country takes a step away from progression. We must not only stop Donald Trump, but the ideology that he preaches, and all people like him from ever getting into power and governing the total of people as a whole. Thank you.
I think that's going to conclude this press conference. Most of us will be heading over to the West Shore Community location.
Can we ask you just a couple questions? Trip, I have a question for you. Show of hands, are any of you not voting for Hillary Clinton? So can I have an explanation on that? You're saying you're not voting, all we're hearing here.
I think if you want to ask people individually.
Okay, well, I mean, I want to throw it out there. If you're saying you're not voting for Hillary Clinton, but you're also saying Trump can never be president, isn't Hillary Clinton the field will prevent that?
Can I take this one?
Matter of
Can I take this one?
Yeah,
I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton because I refuse as an American citizen to have to go into my head and tell me who I'm supposed to vote for. It's the antithesis of democracy. She has been pushed forward, and we know that now as fact. She has been pushed forward by the DNC, which is an organization that I was proudly a member of for a long time as a Democrat. And it shows that corruption. And we cannot reward corruption with the president. I don't want Trump. I don't want Trump at all. And I will agree with you. I think Hillary's probably better than Trump. However, we cannot afford such corruption. And I believe that
symbolism is worth it to you if Trump becomes president.
we have to stand with our values. Are we not Americans? Is the point not to vote for what we believe in? Why do we vote our fears? Why are we constantly voting our fears?
300 million choices. You have two choices, right?
No. We have two choices.
Okay, but do they have a chance to be president? They do if we vote.
If the DNC is
If people like you and people like them are willing to vote third party, then absolutely we have a chance. Stop with the rhetoric that there is no chance for a third party candidate. That is rhetoric, hyped up by not only the Republican Party, but also the DNC. We need to believe in third party candidates like Joe Stein.
Thanks, guys.